Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be looking at Findora's FRA. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. So this is going to be looking at some of the higher time frame counts here. And the way that I'm looking at this is there's a few ways that we can argue that this move is not completed to the downside and that we could see another low come into play here where we could lose this 88555. Now, within this idea, there would be two ways I'm looking at this. Invalidation of this idea of a 5-wave move would come by moving back above this 140000, and that would mean that this fourth wave would then have to move up towards this fifth wave. Now, within this idea, what we'd be saying here is that this move is 1, 2, 3 into this low, looking for a fourth wave as a triangle over here, and then looking for the potential of a break to the downside. Now, the most common target area here is this 5984 to this 3153. Now, looking at the internals of this next leg down here, unless there's extension, it doesn't look like this lower target is going to be hit, but obviously we'll have to wait for confirmation and a bit more structure here to actually show us whether we're going to get some extension within these waves. Now, within this idea, like I said, we'd be looking for a 5-wave move to the downside. Some other targets here is the wave 1 to 3, this 0.382, which is sitting here at this 13906. 0.618 of that is sitting here at this 3608. So this is lying within our white target box. The orange numbers here are also some alternate targets based off of the wave 1, the 0.618, and the 1-to-1 of it, which is sitting down here towards this 2447. Now, if we are looking at this as breaking down, what I would want to see here for this to get a better indication of this being a third wave is to actually move past this 13673. If we do continue to move down here, what we will then be anticipating is another 3-wave move back to the upside, not crossing this wave 1, and then seeing an additional leg to the downside here, where we could be looking for this 12413 to this 10683 as potential targets. Now, if we do see price actually come back up here in 3 waves and we do interact with this wave 1, I will still be on the lookout that we could have something like a 1-2-1-2 here, and then we could be looking for that 3rd, 4th, and 5th to develop after that point. That would potentially then allow us to get back down into this lower target box. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this to see whether we get these continuations to the downside here for this 3rd wave. Like I said, 13673 is going to be the zone we want to be keeping an eye out for, that 3rd wave to come in, then looking for a 4th and a 5th, provided that there are no extensions. Now, we could also argue here that within the structure that this could actually be playing out as a more corrective move, where this is just a W wave into this point here. And what we would then be saying is that this move is either going to be a bigger A, B, and a C to the upside here, where we would be looking for an additional move to the upside off of this green support zone here, which would be this 15580 to this 13036 would be the next lower targets here. If we have already come into this, so I am looking at the charts to see if there is any indication of a move to the upside, but currently there is nothing, so I would have to assume that this move is not completed to the downside. Now, if this is A, B, and C, what this could then mean is that we could see another push to the upside, where we could see the potential to move up towards this 50% here at this 157615. Now, we don't have any evidence that this is potentially in play here, so we need to just respect the idea here that for as long as we stay below this 3815 and this area here of this 4750, what we need to be aware of is that that bearish count is still potentially in play. So we need to just be respectful of that even if we do get three waves back up here in a bounce, we don't have confirmation until we start to see some better structure. Now, if we did see a move up towards this 1-to-1 level, what we would then be looking for is the potential to see a Y wave come in at a later date, looking for a potential move down. Now, off of this 50%, this would be this 3197, and then the 1-to-1 would actually be all the way down here at this 332. So we need to just be very careful with this one. If we do look to break down in this 5-wave move, as we had this played out over here, we don't have all the information here, so it's hard to say where exactly this is within a sequence. But my primary expectation then would be to see another 3-wave move to the upside and then to seek that continuation down. However, if we are looking at this as a corrective move to the downside and this is just a 3-wave structure, then we can't write off the potential here that we could be looking for a bigger move up. Now, It is quite hard to count these waves internally here, but what I would be looking out for would be the potential of something like this for as long as we stay above this 0.01153. Now this would be our bullish counts here. We'd be looking for the potential that this, instead of actually being a connector wave or part of a triangle, is actually a wave 1. Now, like I said, there's a lower confidence in this because you would have to count this quite strangely to get this as a wave 1. I don't really like it, but effectively you could argue that we have 1 2 here and we're looking for another wave 2. Now invalidation of this, like I said, would be 1153. If we continue to hold this level, I would be looking for this to pretty much turn around from either where we are or a little bit lower down. If we start to lose this 0.854, the probability is then becoming more likely that this is looking for that continuation to the downside here. So if we do look to continue to push down here and we start to lose this 0.854, the probability increases that we are actually going to take this low. Nevertheless, as long as we hold it, we could still see something along these lines where we could have this as our wave 1 2 1 2, and what we don't need to see then is a push up towards this level of this 339158, and that would then align with this third wave. Now we would then need to see a fourth and a fifth, and this would also need to hit this level here of the 7 cents. So there would be a lot that needs to play out here, and I wouldn't be expecting this to happen overnight. But you know, we are within the target box for this, so we need to keep an eye on it and see if it actually looks to continue to be a valid option here, or whether we're actually going to see this start to lose this 0.854 and start to follow that idea of this actually breaking down. Now, if we are looking at this as a B wave, the way that I'm looking at the internals here, if we come down into a lower time frame, is I'm treating these internal waves as a 1 2, and then we have the blue count here. Now this is quite messy, so we have to just go through this. Effectively what we have is the blue 1 2, the white 1 2 3 4, and then we're looking to see whether this fifth wave is actually completed. We have come down into this target box area here of the 16245 to this 15822. Now if this is going to extend out in the blue fourth and fifth, we'd expect a rejection in this area here, this 21534 to this 18459. If we start to develop impulsive structure up from this point, then we need to start looking out for those bullish potentials, but we still need to be very careful, for as long as we stay in this area of this previous fourth wave here, we could still experience a bounce to the upside here and then that continuation down. Now if this move looks to push us down one more time here, we can see that if we do get this blue bounce to the upside, what we would then be looking for is the potential to actually see this 15201 to this 13944. If we do see this, then effectively we will be looking for the potential to see whether we actually hit this 13773. If we fail to achieve this 1618, this whole move could still just be a bigger corrective structure to the downside and not actually a 5-wave move, where this becomes A, B, and C, and then we could be looking at that potential for that bounce from this point. So we need to just be on the lookout for this. If we do continue to fail to break above that high, like I said, of this previous fourth wave here at this 20724, then potentially we can look for this continuation down, and we could be looking for this 5-wave structure to play out. Coming back out here and having a look at a few of these ideas here with the channels and the value area lows and these points of control, what I'm looking for here, there's a little bit of a confluence here with these trend lines. We are currently coming into this trend line, which is sitting here towards the zone of this 5905. We are starting to get a little bit of a reaction, but nothing substantial as of yet. If we do continue to push down, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this level here of this 14745, because this is also aligning quite nicely with this value area low, and potentially even looking at, you know, possibly coming down and swing failing some of these lows here. This would also bring us back into this channel, so this is going to be an interesting zone. If we do see something like this where we continue on down here, I'm going to be watching these levels. If we do get a bounce, we need to be careful that we don't just get something like this and then that we break down after that point. Or alternatively, you know, if we move back down into this area, what I'd want to see for that bullish count is actually getting back above this channel and then looking to attack some of these highs that we have higher up here. So that's what we're going to be looking for moving forward. Coming in and having a look at the daily CPR lines, what we can see is that we are currently interacting with these central lines. We have actually moved down to the S1 line and then moved back up into these. Now, if we do continue to hold this level, this opens up the potential to target out these levels of the 17,302, 17,806, 18,432, and this 18,947. If, however, we continue to lose these levels, I will be looking out for the potential to see us interact again with the 16,163. We have the 15,536, 15,025, and this 14,372 as potential downside targets for today if we lose those central lines. Now, moving over to the weekly pivots, what we can see here is that we actually printed lower CPR lines, and we did interact with these and move down into our S1 line. If we do move back up here, we can potentially find resistance between the 17,366 and the 17,880. If we do find resistance here, or alternatively we just continue to move down, targets for this week are still open at this 14,898, 13,263 as potential downside targets. If during this week we manage to break back above these central lines, I will be watching these higher targets. 18,749 would bring us right back into this bit of structure here, and then we have other targets of this 20,354 and this 21,460 as potential upside targets if we overcome those central lines. Now, moving over here and having a look at the monthly CPR lines, we can see that we interacted with these and then we actually fell away into our S1 line. We are now currently above this, so we'll be keeping an eye on this 16,437 to see if this area is going to actually act as support. We can see we had a little bit of a back test here. If we do look to move back up, this would align with coming up past some of those weekly areas. So if we do move back up here, we're going to be keeping an eye on this 2431 to this 22,518 as potential zones of resistance. This would align with coming back up into these highs, obviously. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on those zones. If, however, we continue to break down, other targets that are open for this month, if we lose that S1, would be this 13,485 and this lower level here of this 8,462. So need to be aware of these downside potentials here, but we do also have that potential of flipping this into support and then starting to see some upward price action come in here. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and why not come check the Discord out? It's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.